Hey everyone, I'm Army Gaming. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to Monster Analysis. Up for analysis today is Living Forest. Living Forest embodies the power of nature. Like nature itself, this monster can only be understood and appreciated by the wise. Its incredible speed allows it to be ready to empower its allies whenever they need. And so here we have the newest and latest nature monster, and I gotta tell you, I love this monster design. However, I don't like this monster at all. As of the time recording this video, there's a total of 27 nature legendary monsters, so I'm going to be comparing Living Forest to those monsters. And so we start things off with a power of 3,399, which places this monster in 12th place. However, the power stat doesn't really matter in this case because this monster is by no means an attacker. He's a pure supportive monster. As for his life, he has 29,858, which places him tied for 11th place with Virus. And then lastly, and surprisingly enough, this monster has an amazing speed of 3,498, which makes him the fastest nature legendary monster. That's right, faster than Lamu, faster than Yiltra, faster than Sarah. So, behold the fastest nature legendary monster. And of course, a speed like this makes him tied with amazing monsters from the elements, such as Baba Yaga, Chrysandre. So, Living Forest, he may not have a high power or a high life, but he does have an incredible speed. And furthermore, he also has the trait Hardened. All status effects have a 20% less accuracy against it, so he has a great speed and a great trait. However, as I mentioned earlier, this monster is a supportive monster, not a deny monster, not an attacker. And so let's get into the skills, but first let me just mention the books he's actually in. Living Forest is in the Superheroes book, so this is his competition in that book. And he's also in the Good Legions book, so he has 52 other monsters to compete against. And then lastly, Living Forest is also in the Spirits book, which it's kind of unfair to be in the Spirits book just because Samael the Plague Carrier is there. But yeah, it's just important to know when you can actually utilize a monster in Team Wars. And so with all that out of the way, let's move on to skills, starting off with the ultimate attack, Taiga. Heals all allies by 50%, doubles all allies' maximum life, applies Mirror to all allies. This is actually a pretty fantastic ultimate attack. All your monsters will heal by 50%, they will all get double life from their maximum life, and they will also get Mirror for 2 turns. And honestly, if I was to have this monster in a Team Wars where I know I'm going up against General Thetis, and I know the enemy has a General Thetis with crazy fast speed runes, that I know General Thetis is going to go first, I would potentially put this monster on defense just for that 5% chance to get the ultimate attack. Because if the enemy General Thetis goes, the Stamina Devours, and then my monster take a little bit of damage, or a lot of damage if that General Thetis is ranked up, and then if my Living Forest can give my monsters their life back, double life in Mirror, that gives me a really good chance of winning even though they have no stamina. Because now the enemy is going to be worried about attacking me, because if they do attack me, I'm going to be reflecting attacks back at them. So just the ultimate attack alone, I love. And it's pretty strange saying that because I'm not a fan of supportive ultimates, because they just don't tend to help out much. I like deny ultimates, I like ultimates that kill, 80 damage, 70 damage, that also applies crazy DOTs or immobilizing effects. But as far as ultimates go for a supportive monster, this is a top of the line ultimate in my opinion. And yeah, that's pretty much what I think about the ultimate. Let's move on to the regular skills. Skills group 1 I don't think has anything worth mentioning, so on to skills group 2 we go. And so starting off with skills group 2 we have Sinjahara. Heals all allies by 30%, removes all negative status effects from all allies, requires cooldown. So we have a team skill that costs 31 stamina, only has a 1 turn cooldown, and it heals all of your team by 30% as well as it removes negative effects. I think this is a fantastic supportive skill also. You heal your team, you remove any debuffs, any DOTs, any negative effects if they're immobilized. This is great, this is fantastic. And in my opinion, this is a skill worth running. Next we have Tongue Gas, deals moderate special damage to all enemies, applies damage reduction to all targets, requires cooldown. Here we have a special base AoE that deals 35 damage, costs 25 stamina, has a 2 turn cooldown, and it applies damage reduction. Damage reduction will reduce the enemy's damage output by 1/4, which I think in terms of the other skills this monster has, this is actually pretty darn good and something I would consider running. Sunderbands is next, deals moderate nature damage to all enemies, applies poison and removes positive status effects from all enemies, requires cooldown. Here we have a nature based AoE that deals 30 damage to all of the enemy monsters. It costs 44 stamina, which is pretty high, has a 2 turn cooldown, but it gives poison. Poison for the next 3 turns will take away the enemy's HP by 15% for a grand total of 45%, and it reduces the enemy's damage output by 20%. And on top of that, it removes any good effects that we have. And considering we're talking about nature monsters, this is primarily life regeneration. It could of course also remove buffs, any stamina regeneration. Against earth monsters, it can remove shields. It's just really great. Personally, I really love the skills group 2 of this monster. You have poison and damage reduction that will significantly reduce the damage output from the enemy team. You can heal your team as well as remove negative effects, remove positive effects from the enemy. In my opinion, it's worth running all of skills group 2. But hey, we still need to talk about skills group 3. And we start things off with Daintree. Doubles an ally's maximum life, applies taunt to one ally, requires cooldown. And so here we have an attack that targets a single ally, it costs 22 stamina with a 4 turn cooldown. and that monster you target, it can even be yourself, it'll get double life and it'll also get taunts. Now, of course it's great that you double the monster's maximum life, and now all the enemy monsters have to target that one monster, and considering you have a crazy fast space speed, you could potentially make this monster go first, give him 3 speed runes, and do the skill on yourself. Use Daintree, give yourself taunt and double life. The enemy monsters are going to have to single hit you. Now, if they have an AoE, it's still going to affect everyone. So it's not a foolproof plan, you know, you can still get AoE denied. But as far as being single denied or single targeted, everything is going to be going to Living Forest. This is in terms of offense, obviously. If you were to use this on defense, you have no way of controlling who the AI was to actually use Daintree on. Now, in terms of the 100 monsters, this monster has almost 30k life. So if you do activate Daintree on yourself, you would have 60k life, so that's a lot of damage you can take from the enemy monsters. But like I said, this doesn't guarantee that you protect your allies, because the enemy attacker can still do an AoE. The enemy deny monster may still do an AoE, but as far as single target hits, which tend to be more powerful, at least you'll be protected against those. And considering the fact that you can't really protect against an AoE deny skill, another option you could do is just to give this monster 2 speed runes and a life rune. So overall, I'm a little iffy on how I feel about this skill. While I do realize its usability, I'm also not the biggest fan of it. Let's move on to the next skill, Kinabalu. Applies mirror to one ally, removes all negative status effects from one ally, heals one ally by 30%, requires cooldown. We have another single ally skill that costs 27 stamina, 3 turn cooldown. This applies mirror for 2 turns, it heals by 30%, and it removes all negative effects. Now, Daintree and Kinabalu, these two skill works great together. However, I hate that you need to set up, right? You need to do Daintree on turn 1, on the next turn you can finally use Kinabalu, and now you have mirror. However, then taunt is already gone. So how well does that actually work? I guess you can do Kinabalu first, give yourself mirror, and then on the next turn use Daintree, in which case now you have taunt for 1 turn and mirror for 1 turn. But by then, I just don't like the setup. While I imagine this is a combo a lot of people may be going for, personally I just wouldn't recommend it. I just don't really see it being that useful that often. You know, for example, when we take a look at a skill from Skills Group 1, this is a team skill, right? It costs 31 stamina, has a 1 turn cooldown, your monsters heal by 30%, and everyone gets their negative effects removed. We look at Kinabalu, this has a 3 turn cooldown, and only one monster gets to heal and remove negative effects, but that one monster gets mirror. Problem is, you can't guarantee the enemy attacks that one monster, so you can't guarantee you're going to be reflecting anything. And as for Daintree, I think I talked enough about why I don't like it, and while I do understand it can be usable, just from Skills Group 3, personally I can't recommend these skills. They are usable, it's going to be up to you. I'll ask you guys what you guys would actually run at the end of the video like I always do, but that's just my opinion. Lastly, we have Mindo Nambilo. Applies nature weakness to all enemies, applies water weakness to all enemies, applies earth weakness to all enemies, requires cooldown. Here we have an incredible setup skill. So it's an AoE attack that deals 30 special base damage to all of the enemy monsters. It costs 46 stamina with a 2 turn cooldown, and it gives nature, water, and earth weakness, which means attacks from those elements will be 50% stronger. So considering Team Wars is so vast and you can go up against monsters from all different elements, this is just a really good skill in my opinion. It's a perfect setup skill. And so because of this skill, you can pair up this monster with a nature attacker, an earth attacker, a water attacker, and they can deal a lot of damage out. And so all you really need to do is just make this monster faster than your own attacker. And this would actually be my 4th recommended skill on this monster. You run Mindo, you run Sunderbands, you run Tongue Gas, and you run Sinharaja, and in my opinion that's the perfect skill set for this monster. Like I mentioned early on, I don't really like this monster just because I'm not the biggest fan of supportive. Well, I do like supportive monsters, but I prefer if they're a different type of support. Someone who can do stuff right away, who can really have a major impact in the game. Whereas this monster, for me personally, he just doesn't do it. He's still great in terms of the fact that he can give damage reduction, he can give poison and remove good effects, he can heal allies and remove any debuffs, and he can also set up for 3 different attackers, so he's quite versatile and he's definitely usable. But just for me personally, I'm not really feeling this monster. I think I would just have to use this monster for a bit before I can actually give a finalized opinion. But I think in terms of what Weekend does, he's definitely a pure supportive monster. For runes, I would just give him 1 speed rune to make sure he's faster than your attacker, give this monster a team speed rune to increase the speed of all of your monsters, and give this monster a team life or another team speed rune. I think considering that Living Forest can heal all of your monsters by 30% on a 1 turn cooldown, that's incredible and that's definitely worth giving him a team life rune. But I know a lot of people aren't the biggest fans of team life runes, so just go ahead and put the 2nd team speed rune on him and just have him set up for your attacker. And then just in case you don't even have a water, nature, and earth monster, you could always just poison the enemy team, you could always just apply damage reduction. So great support monster. I'm personally not the biggest fan of him yet, I just have to use him before I can finally decide. But yeah, now I want to hear from all of you guys. What would you actually run on this monster? How many of you would consider running Daintree and Kinabalu? let me know in the comments below because I'm really curious to know what you guys have to say about Living Forest. And yeah, that pretty much concludes my analysis on Living Forest. Like I said, let me know what you guys think, and like always, remember to dream big and pursue your passions.